So today we will be covering the tuples, right? And we'll start with the introduction of tuples, that what exactly tuple is and what sort of information it stores. Then we'll be talking about how you create a tuple and how you access elements from the tuple, how you retrieve multiple elements from a tuple using slicing, and why we say that tuples are immutable, and what is the difference between the tuples and list. Then we'll be working on how you concatenate, replicate, and various other operations on tuples and the tuple functions as well. Now let's understand what exactly tuple is. Tuple is basically an ordered collection of objects. It's immutable. That means we cannot make any change in place in tuples, right? And this is the way how you basically create a tuple. You simply say tuple variable equals to, within opening and closing the circular brackets, you specify the elements, and that simply creates a tuple. And if I say T1 equals to blank, that means it will simply create an empty tuple for you, right? There's some more examples like num equal to this one. This is simply going to create a tuple of integers. If you talk about this one, since this is simply going to create a tuple of strings, right? Here weekdays is the name of the tuple, and these are the elements, and these elements are the weekdays. So this can be considered as like the strings, the tuples of strings, or here in this case these um, week names or weekdays names are basically been taken as an as a tuple element. And if you talk about to retrieve these elements, because we know that elements are recognized through the indexing, and the index numbers always starts with zero, right? So when I say weekdays of zero, this is simply going to pick the Sunday, and so on like that. Moving on to the next one, how you access the elements. As I was talking about, uh, the tuples has got again the indexing, and index always starts with zero. This is called the forward indexing, right? And if you talk about the reverse indexing always starts with the minus one to total number of size, right? So minus one to minus the size of the tuples. So here, if you talk about this particular element, it has got an index zero, and reverse indexing, it has got -7. Talk about the last element, this is always size -1. The size of this tuple was 7. So 7 minus 1, 6 was the last index values. And in terms of reverse indexing, it always starts with -1. So if I want to retrieve this particular element, I'll say T1 of 2. If you talk about this one, I'll say T1 of 4 or T1 of -3, right? If we talk about this one, I'll say T1 of 6 or T1 of -1. Okay. So num is being taken. These are the, this is a tuple named num, and this is a tuple named weekdays, right? So when I say num of 3, so 92 is going to pick up and displayed. When I say num of -1, so num is this, -1 is this, so 82 is going to pick up and displayed, right? When I say weekdays of 4, so weekdays of 4 is Thursday. So Thursday is going to pick up and displayed. And when I say, weekdays of -1, so weekdays of -1 is Saturday, that is going to be simply picked up and displayed. So that's how you access tuple elements. Now we'll talk about the slicing. Slicing means retrieving multiple elements from a string, from a tuple, ranging a particular index to, I mean, the starting index to the ending index, right? You need to specify the starting and the ending index. It will retrieve those many elements from the tuple, right? Let's say if I say the tuple is num having these many elements. If I say 2 to 6, the meaning of this is it picks up the element from the second index number to 6 minus 1, that is 5. So 2 to 5, all the elements will be picked up and displayed. This is the second index value. So second, third, fourth, and fifth, these many elements are going to be picked up and displayed. Okay, so you can clearly see as an output. So these are the elements which are basically been retrieved from the tuple and displayed. If I say -4 to -2, so that means it will simply go from here -2 to -4 to -2. That means one before 2 -2, that is -3. So 92 and 78 will be picked up and displayed, right? If I say -5 and there's no ending value. So that means from -5 to all the elements till end will be picked up and displayed. And these are the elements. If we talk about 98, 92, 78, 87, 82, these elements will be picked up and displayed. If I say there's no starting value and the ending value is 4, so from beginning to 4 minus 1, that is 3. So these elements from 0 to 3 are going to be picked up and displayed. 67, 82, 98, and 92 are going to be picked up and displayed. So that is how you retrieve elements, multiple elements from the starting and the ending position, and this concept is known as the slicing, right? Now, moving on, why the tuples are immutable, right? Immutable means you cannot make change in place, right? If you have got a tuple like this, x equal to this one, if I try to make change in this particular position, it will simply generate an error. For example, this is a tuple having integer elements, and if I say x of 1 equal to 100, this is zeroth index number, this is first index number, and if I try to replace this value with 100, it will simply say type error. The tuple object does not support item assignment. But if you just talk about the list, if I say we have got a list L, and L is containing, let's say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. These are the elements in a list. And if I say L of 0, right, equal to 99, and then I say, after that, if I say print L, it will simply display me, these elements, it will simply display me these elements, right, with a change at index value 0, with a change at index value 0. So 99 will be there at the 0th index number, and finally, I'll have this particular value. So this is that's why we talk about the list. That list is mutable. List is mutable because we made changes here. The changes is allowed in place in list, and that's why it's called the mutable. But that is not possible in case of tuple, and that's why it's called the immutable data type. Now moving on to the next one, concatenating and replacing lists. If you say item 1 has got these many elements, item 2 has got these many elements, if I say item 1 plus item 2, it will simply join these values with these values, right? So this is basically called the concatenation of two tuples, right? Now think of that. If you've got a tuple like this, tuple is containing 1, 2, 3, and if I say tuple multiplied by 3, multiplication operator is basically considered as a replication operators in terms of any data type you talk about, right? So if I say tuple multiplied by 3, it will simply replicate the values of tuple 3 times. So 1, 2, 3 is there, so 1, 2, 3 will be displayed 3 times, right? This is called a replication. But if you just say, tuple into tuple, this is not allowed. Multiplication is only possible, uh, uh, in terms of in tuples and integers. Similarly, list and integer, string and integer. That multiplication is not actually the multiplication; it's a replication. It replicates the values of either the tuple or the string or the list or the dictionary for those many times, right? So the next one is, let's say I write a program to print the following tuples elements using loop, right? That is called navigating to the tuple, right? So if you've got a tuple like this, I just want to pick one element at a time. For that, I'll simply say for I in, for I in, right? For I in a range, right? 0 to the length of that tuple. So it will simply go from 0 to length minus 1. Every time the elements is going to be picked up and displayed and followed by a space. So it will simply display the elements like this. This is one of the way to pick the elements from the tuple and display it. There's one more way without using indexing. I'll simply say for weekday in weekdays, right? It will simply pick one element at a time, right? From the indexing, starting with the 0th index number in index value, that's the default one. So one element at a time is going to be retrieved and displayed. Okay, so either you make use of this way or you make use of this way. Ultimately, it's simply going to display the same information, right? This one has been you picked up the element using this particular way through the indexing, and here it will pick one element at a time from the list until the list element does not get finished, right? So you can straight away also use, I know, these the tuples also, I mean these elements also when I say for WD in these elements. So one element is I mean this one and this one has got the same meaning, okay. So it will simply pick the element from this one by one and display it. Now we have got some membership operators in and not in. If I say a tuple has got these many elements, if I say x in x and x has got a value, let's say 5. If I say x in a tuple, it will say true because the 5 is there. Okay. If I say 100, 1 not in tuple, it will give me true because 101 is not there, right? So this way it works in membership operators. Then this is one example. A tuple called festival is given with the following elements. It's given over there. Write a program to enter a festival name and search whether it is there or not. So as simple as that. You can simply make use of the membership operator. You create a list. You create a tuple. You ask user to enter a festival name, right? Then you say if that festival name is in that festival which you have already stored, then it is there. Otherwise, it is not there. Simple, right? So. There's another example. You can go through with this example. It's for you as a homework. Now, these are certain functions, of which you can use it in your Python programming. Len is simply going to find out the length of the string, length of the tuple. Index is simply going to, give you the index of a particular element from a tuple. If I say, a weekday or dot index of Monday, so it will simply give me 1. Max is going to give me the max value of the all tuple elements. Then similarly, it's not mix, it's min. Min is simply going to give me the minimum value of the tuples which you have entered or which you have specified. Sum is simply going to find out the sum of all the elements from the tuple, right? Similarly, we have got the count, sorted, and reverse function. Count is simply going to count the total number of elements. If I say x equals to n tuple dot count to the number 5, it will simply count the total number of occurrence of 5 in this tuple. Sorted. If I say the tuple is there, if I say sorted within bracket name, so it will simply sort all these elements according to the alphabetical order, right? And reversed is simply going to reverse all these elements in a reverse order, right? So this should have been like this. This is not a list, it's a tuple, right? So this is the way how you deal with the tuples.